Hi, my name is Mehmet Burakid, and this presentation examines the challenges of governing artificial intelligence in financial services. Financial institutions use AI for purposes such as lending, fraud detection, customer service, and risk monitoring. These applications can improve speed and accuracy, but they can also affect customer rights and access to financial products. I will discuss five major governance challenges, practical solutions for each challenge, and how the United States, European Union, and international frameworks approach AI governance differently. AI governance is very important in financial services because AI outputs can influence regulated decisions. A credit model might affect loan approval, pricing, or credit limits. A fraud model may prevent financial loss, but it can also restrict a legitimate transaction or account. Generative AI used in customer service could provide an inaccurate answer or incomplete disclosure. AI-generated risk reports may also influence management decisions. For this reason, technical accuracy is only one part of governance. Financial institutions must also consider how an AI output is used, who could be affected, what laws apply, and whether the institution can investigate and explain the outcome. Governance must protect the institution while also protecting the person affected by the decision. The United States, European Union, and international organizations use different AI governance strategies. The United States generally relies on existing sector-specific laws and regulatory expectations. In financial services, an institution must determine which requirements apply to each AI use. These may include fair lending obligations, adverse action requirements, model risk expectations, and third-party oversight. The European Union follows a more centralized and risk-tiered approach. Under the EU AI Act, many AI systems used to evaluate creditworthiness are considered high risk. Those systems are subject to stronger requirements for documentation, risk management, data governance, transparency, and human oversight. NIST and the OECD provide flexible frameworks and principles rather than sector-specific legal requirements. They emphasize outcomes such as accountability, fairness, security, transparency, and continuous risk management. A multinational financial institution should use one enterprise control baseline and then add stronger controls for particular jurisdictions and higher risk uses. This is more effective than developing an entirely separate governance program for every country. The first challenge is producing reliable explanations for credit decisions. A complex model may predict default risk accurately, but still fail to provide a clear and faithful reason when credit is denied. Regulation B requires an applicant to receive the specific principal reasons for an adverse action. A generic statement that the applicant failed to meet an internal standard is not enough. The explanation must reflect the factors actually considered in the decision. The first solution is to map influential model factors to approved adverse action reason codes and test whether those codes accurately represent the model's behavior. The second solution is to reproduce a sample of denied applications before deployment and verify entire process, including the notice received by the applicant. After deployment, the institution should monitor changes in reason code frequency, complaints, and manual overrides. Explainability should be treated as a control that is tested continuously, not simply as documentation created during model development. The second challenge is bias and fair lending risk. Bias can enter the process even when protected characteristics are not directly included in the model. Historical outcomes may reflect earlier disparities. Other variables may operate as proxies for protected characteristics. Model thresholds can also create different error rates among groups. In addition, human overrides or referral practices may change outcomes after the model produces its source. The first solution is rigorous pre-deployment testing. This should include reviewing features for possible proxies, comparing performance across relevant groups, and examining whether error rates or outcomes show meaningful disparities. The second solution is continuous outcome monitoring after deployment. The institution should monitor approval rates, overrides, complaints, model drift, and subgroup performance. Approved escalation thresholds should determine when investigation or corrective action is required. A model should not be considered successful merely because its overall accuracy remains high. It must also produce outcomes that the institution can defend fair, and consistent. The third challenge concerns model validation, especially for generative and agentic AI. Traditional banking model risk practices are well developed for predictive models. However, generative AI creates additional risks because its responses can vary based on prompts, context, and available tools. The 2026 revised banking model risk guidance states that generative and agentic AI models are outside its scope. Therefore, relying only on traditional model validation would leave important gaps. The first solution is a separate generative AI testing overlay. Testing should examine inaccurate or fabricated responses, prompt sensitivity, privacy leakage, unsafe content, and unauthorized tool use. Tests should reflect realistic employee and customer interactions. The second solution is to connect this overlay to existing model risk, data governance, cybersecurity, compliance, and third-party processes. Human reviewers should also have clear restrictions and escalation responsibilities. This approach addresses the unique behavior of generative AI without creating an isolated governance program. The fourth challenge is the use of vendor-provided AI. A financial institution may purchase the technology, but it does not transfer accountability to the vendor. The institution may have limited visibility into the vendor's training data, model updates, subcontractors, or data retention practices. The first solution is stronger due diligence and contracting. Before adoption, the institution should document data flows, determine whether customer information will be retained or reused, and confirm that it will receive enough information to validate the system. Contracts should require notice of material changes and prompt reporting of incidents. The second solution is ongoing oversight throughout the relationship. The institution should monitor performance after vendor updates, review compliance evidence, and evaluate outages or concentration risk. An exit plan should address data return or deletion, operational continuity, and transition support. If the vendor will not provide enough evidence or contractual rights to govern a high-impact use, the institution should reconsider using that particular product. The fifth challenge is unclear ownership. An institution cannot govern AI effectively if it does not know where AI is being used, what decisions it influences, or who has authority to stop it. The first solution is a complete AI inventory. Each use case should identify its business owner, purpose, affected decision, data sources, vendor and model version, risk classification, applicable jurisdictions, required approvals, and monitoring plan. The second solution is a documented lifecycle process. NIST's govern, map, measure, and manage functions provide a useful structure for connecting policy, risk assessment, testing, approval, and monitoring. Human oversight must also be meaningful. A reviewer needs adequate information, training, time, and authority to question an output, override it, stop the system, or escalate a concern. Simply placing a person somewhere in the workflow does not create effective human oversight. Implementation should start with AI systems that have the greatest potential impact on customers or institutional operations. During the first 90 days, the institution should complete its inventory and classify each use according to customer impact, decision role, data sensitivity, vendor reliance, and jurisdiction. During the next 90 days, the institution should establish risk-based approval gates. High-impact uses should demonstrate reliable explanations, fairness testing, security controls, vendor oversight, monitoring thresholds, and accountable human review before deployment. Ongoing monitoring should evaluate outcomes rather than technical availability alone. Important indicators include model drift, disparities, overrides, complaints, incidents, and material vendor changes. Success means the institution can identify its AI systems, explain consequential decisions, detect emerging harm, document human intervention, and resolve issues within established timeframes. Thank you.